Here we go. We take a look at the starting grid here. On the front row, Scott Pruitt, his first IndyCar pole, comes in his 82nd career start. Alongside Andre Ribeiro, his Rio 400 winner, makes the first front row start for this season. In row 2, Adrian Fernandez, the 1992 Detroit Indy Lights winner. And Parker Johnstone, his best career finish, a second, came on the street circuit at Long Beach. In the third row, Alex Zanardi. This is his 5th top 5 start of the season. And Christian Fittipaldi, who has finished in the points in 6 of the 7 races. In row 4, Jill DeFerrin, who dominated on the streets of Long Beach before engine problems struck. And Bobby Rahal, the winner of the first event held here on Belle Isle. In row 5, it's Michael Andretti, who has won 2 of the last 3 races, including Milwaukee last week. And Robbie Gordon, his most recent win came here 1 year ago. In row 6, Paul Tracy and Al Unser Jr. In row 7, Roberto Moreno and the rookie Greg Moore. In row 8, Mark Blundell and Brian Herta. The 9th row, Emerson Fittipaldi and Raul Boesel. In row 10, Mauricio Gugelmin and Jimmy Vasser. The 11th row, Jeff Krosnoff and Stefan Johansson. In row 12, Eddie Lawson and Juan Fangio. The 13th row, P.J. Jones and Hiro Matsushita. Withdrawing from the event with the rain today was Michel Jourdain. So that's the way they line up. And we are ready now to take a tour of this track as the engines have already fired and the crews, they'll give them a little extra warming time. Danny, an interesting circuit. We'll be doing 77 laps around this 2.1 mile, 14-turn course.
Well, of course, you see the passing zones there in the green. These are just the places you can get by. They're not all great, but they're places that you can get by. Some of the slower mark. The troubled spots are at a lot of those passing zones as well, because they'll suck you in there a little bit. It'll be a good spot to get by, and then the guy shuts the door. This is turn 1. They're just on the pit lane coming out. Then they go through that left-hander turn 2. They go down this little short straightaway. Now they're going into turn 3 there. They bend around to the left underneath the trees. Of course, with this cloud, you can't really see them. Going through a tight right-hander right there, then a very tight left-hander, short squirt on the throttle, tight right-hander, accelerate up to the top of your screen there. This is an important corner. It's onto the straightaway. Also a good passing spot coming onto the straight. You'll go down there. Now, the straight's not really a straightaway in the true sense because you got to bend there to the right. See, it keeps bending around to the right. And then you actually carry your speed through that left-hander that you see at the top of your screen. Under the trees, hard on the brakes, fast right-hander there. Short acceleration up to that left-hander on the right of your screen. Through this tricky section that's all concrete in there now. Middle of it's asphalt. Now tight left, then this tight right-hander onto a short straightaway. Good place to try to pass, but difficult. Quite a quick right-hander right there, and another right-hander onto the front straightaway. All those corners you see are in concrete now. They are revved. Then down this straightaway through that very fast bend, and the start-finish line right underneath the bridge there. See the checkered across the pit.
And, of course, the pits just to your right on the inside. Well, they're on the track. We will come back, and when we do, it'll be the green flag on what should be a fascinating... Back on Belle Isle in Detroit, there's your pole sitter, Scott Pruitt, as he follows the contingent of safety cars around the track. So let's go to the pits and Jack Arute.
And you see Jim McGee talking to Scott Pruitt.
I guess it's the button on your left side, silver button, please.
And that silver button he's talking about is the rain light that you will see positioned behind the gearbox below the wing on every single car. Jim McGee, very quickly, with the rain, what does that do to pit tactics? Can you make it on one stop?
Well, you know, we're going to know how quick it dries out. If it doesn't dry out and it stays pretty wet, I think we could do it possibly on one stop.
Changes things all around this morning. The pole sitter's car, they softened the car up, but they are still very, very concerned. Jerry?
Well, they're very excited up here in Christian Fittipaldi's pits. Christian, the fastest driver this morning in practice. He's the first driver on Goodyear tires starting outside of row 6. I talked to John Simmons a moment ago, the chief mechanic, and John says, we told Christian, don't get too excited. We know your car was very quick this morning. We know there's only Firestone cars in front of you, but don't try to overdo it early. get a nice patient start, and then when you get a chance, pick them off one by one. Paul?
Yeah, Paul Newman standing there as well, looking a little dejected about this thing, wondering what they're going to find in the rain. I think they've got a very good chance of finding a victory, but we may see a historic start here too.
We are going to see a historic start because they're actually going to start in single file. And of course, in my years in IndyCar racing, I never saw that even under wet conditions. But we also heard from Wally Dallenbach, the chief steward, who said he's never started one in single file. And this is a safety issue. You see the track's quite narrow there, gray walls. These guys want to get a good, safe start.
There's the race analysis. We already talked about the circuit itself. 77 laps, 161.7 miles, and you have heard they are talking about doing that on a single stop given the conditions today. Paul Tracy has the race record from '94 at 86.245 miles an hour. So now just a single pace car in front of the field. The parade laps are complete, and Scott Pruitt will be able to bring them to the green flag. What do you think, Danny? Would you drive offline for the first couple of laps?
Well, if I was Scott Pruitt, and they've, of course, done the practice session this morning, he's got a pretty good idea of where he's going to go. But I think he'll probably stay pretty much online. He'll figure out what's best. He's also, don't forget, if he's a little slow to get started when they're behind the pace car like this right now, they haven't got as much temperature in the tires as they like. He's going to have to feel that out, and he's want to kind of keep the people behind him.
Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Guys, Christian Fittipaldi radioed in just a moment ago. He has lost telemetry on his digital dash readout. He has no idea what gear he is in and what kind of fuel usage he has. Very concerning here at a road course. And, Danny, that's got to make a driver very anxious, particularly when you got to worry about gear changes and rev limiters on a very tight course like Belle Isle.
Well, it does, but of course I think he's going to be so busy with this race that telemetry, once he gets into it a couple of laps, is probably not going to be a problem. He's going to have to feel the gears. He's going to have to just know where he is.
And that's going to be really the key, is because in the sequential gearbox, as we look at Pat Patrick, the owner of the pole-sitting car, the dash will tell you what gear you're in. You can't just look down and decide.
That's right, and then if you get it too low, of course, you could lock up the rear wheels and spin the car around.
All right, so there's one of the onboard cameras, and that gives you a very good picture of how damp it is out there on Michael Andretti's car. And this is the final two corners before turning onto the straight that leads past the pit area and toward the start-finish line. Not really a straight, it is a bend. The pace car is off the course. They're in the control of Scott Pruitt right now. Here he comes off that final corner, leading to the green, and here we go. Single file, they start. A battle back as Christian Fittipaldi makes a move, comes by the inside. DeFerrin looks like he touches Donardi as he comes around. But Christian Fittipaldi makes the move on the start. Everybody through the first turn nice and clean. And they're still coming through the first turn. So Ribeiro is chasing Scott Pruitt. In race order, qualifying order at the moment, they're the same except for the move by Christian Fittipaldi, who darted to the inside and was able to move up around both Zanardi and Johnstone.
Of course, right now they're just trying to feel their way around, get out there good and smooth, get some heat in those tires. Gilles DeFerrin in the yellow car going right past Fernandez there.
Comes to the inside and chases now Christian Fittipaldi, two ex-Formula One drivers. Fernandez has fallen steadily backwards from his third starting position.
And of course you saw that spray there too, Paul. That's one of the reasons why they want to move to the front as quickly as possible.
Tracy around both Johnstone and Fernandez as Tracy comes forward. And Robbie Gordon with Michael Andretti now as they attack Johnstone. Boy, look at that. Visibility's a little better here than I expected, though.
You're going a very slow spot there. Look at Robbie Gordon going by.
Robbie Gordon jumps down the inside alongside Parker Johnstone. Michael Andretti goes with him. I told you the rain can be fascinating.
From a driver's point of view in a slow corner, that's what you get. But as they move in there, you're going to get the spray. The spray is the real problem. That's your real enemy.
Robbie Gordon makes his move and moves into fourth place. So it's Pruitt. Christian Fittipaldi moves around Ribeiro and picks up second. DeFerrin sits down in fourth place. And Paul Tracy has now moved into fifth. So a lot of changes up at the front, but not unexpected. The Goodyear tires are working.
That's right, and everybody's being cautious here. They're trying to move to the front as quickly as possible, but the Goodyears, we saw in the warm-up, the first 14 cars were fastest were on Goodyears.
And here you see why Scott Pruitt has the advantage on Firestone tires as the pole sitter. Clear shot.
Yeah, he's got nobody in front of him. He can pick his line. Doesn't have to worry anybody just yet. If they get in front of him, that might be a different deal. There's Christian Fittipaldi right behind.
IndyCar race control as we watch Paul Tracy make his move. Look at the tip of the nose of his car. It's no longer there. That's a little cone-like that actually comes off on the Penske, and IndyCar race control is reporting its lane over in turn 5 somewhere. Christian Fittipaldi makes a move for the lead, and he's got it. Christian Fittipaldi is out in front around Pruitt.
Now we might see a different deal. Don't forget, when they're behind a fast car in there, it's like going down the freeway and turning your windshield wipers off. They don't have any kind of windshield wipers, anything on here to protect them.
So Scott Pruitt now has to battle with the spray off the back of Christian Fittipaldi's car. You also see the running lights, emphasis running. They are not brake lights, but they are simply to help locate the car in that spray. That's what Jim McGee was trying to get Scott to make sure he had on. He did have it on.
Well, that's a very bright light, and that's the driver behind. That's his only mark to know where the other guy is so that he doesn't run up his backside.
Andre Ribeiro, there he is. He's dropped well back in the field, too, to 6th place from his second starting position as he struggles with tires that are not working for him either. But Firestone made a valiant effort here this morning as soon as they realized this was in the rain and that they had a tire that only had 25 testing laps as a rain tire. And they started grooving those tires, getting them ready for the run. It might have been too little too late because the Goodyear cars are definitely coming through the front. Go back to the second place car now, Scott Pruitt. And look how far he falls behind. We may get a glimpse of the leader ahead. Oh, he's way up there. There's the leader, just came through the screen. Now DeFerrin charges on Scott Pruitt, and Jill DeFerrin takes over second place.
Boy, those Goodyear shot cars, they've just got so much more traction out of the corners. You just see him pull up alongside of him, stand on the gas and go. Looks like Paul Tracy on the inside there. He just shot through there.
Boy, he did. He just came flying around Jackaroot. And there goes Robbie Gordon. Jack?
Let's update you very quickly on your leader, Christian Fittipaldi. You heard the fact that he had some problems with telemetry. Well, some of them have been solved. The most critical one for the team, the readout from the car back to the pits in terms of fuel consumption. The team is now getting that readout, and they breathed a major sigh of relief, guys.
Well, Christian Fittipaldi has the lead, the first time he's led in the Indy cars since last year at Nazareth. There's Robbie Gordon now moving on Paul Tracy as the Goodyear shot cars continue to try to come through the front of the field. Remember, though, once they all get there, then we have a race between guys who all have really excellent traction, both under acceleration and braking. So at the front of the field, it's Christian, followed by Jill DeFerrin and Paul Tracy. Robbie Gordon, little off-course excursion. He got into the tire barrier. You can see he's already out of the car, so apparently he's decided it's a futile effort to try to get back in it. Here's what happened, Danny.
Well, he comes down the back straightaway, goes through that fast bend, he brakes, he just locks up. He can't turn. He just can't go anywhere. He can't turn. Hits those tire barriers. They do exactly what they wanted. You know, that's Robbie's 5th time in 8 races that he's failed to finish, and 3 of them are by contact with something. He just can't stop. And he can't turn the car because it's too slippery. He's just going straight in. That's really unfortunate because he was moving up and he obviously was very confident.
Yeah, and the year has not been kind to Robbie Gordon, that's for sure. As a result, full course yellow. And here are the rule changes this year regarding road circuits. Remember, they changed a week ago at Milwaukee on the ovals. The cars on the lead lap will line up according to race position at the front of this single file line. It'll stay single file. All other cars will then line up behind the lead lap cars. So if you're a lap off, in track position. And of course, the restart itself will be single file. Jerry Punch?
Well, I'm standing with Derek Walker, who owns the Robbie Gordon car. And Derek, any indication from Robbie what may have happened out there?
I think he just locked up the brakes. It's a real slick, obviously, and just didn't make the turn, so short day.
Not been a good weekend for you. One car yesterday in the tire barrier and the backup car early in these laps.
Yeah, it's been a tough weekend for a lot of people. There have been a lot of cars going off the track, and as you say, we had a little bit yesterday, but